Everybody ready? All right, camera speeding, and action.
Devon.
Rob.
Devon Keenom.
Rob
Keenom?
the lad. Yes.
Is that how you say it?
Yep.
Okay.
German.
German.
Yep.
Okay. German. You know, I actually am part German.
Really?
I always say Italian Irish because it's just like the easy thing to say.
Right.
But I'm part German. My great grandfather's last name was Wunder.
Ah.
Carl Wunder. It sounds like it's like a superhero like alias.
Little
like
bit,
their
yeah,
alias
yeah.
name. So curious. I am so curious. I'm actually excited to ask you this. What is your sign?
Like my
Your zodiac sign.
okay, yeah. Cancer.
You're a Cancer.
June, yeah.
You are a Cancer.
Yeah, birthday's in a couple weeks.
So, okay. Well, that explains your hardworking attitude. Every
Yep.
Cancer I've known has been a very hard worker, very good at their job. But you also, would you say you're also like an emotional person, like in your personal life? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. How so?
I don't know, man. I try to keep emotions at the door, you know.
Well, I've
But-
noticed that about you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Cancer and Scorpio are both water signs. So we're compatible.
All right.
You trained me. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Do you? Well, if you don't remember, I can tell you about it. But if you do remember it, I'd love to hear your remembrance of it.
Where was it?
It was at the what is now known as the Lee's Family Forum.
So Dollar Loan Center.
So the
Right.
former Dollar Loan
Right.
Center.
I'm always gonna call it that. I'll never.
Really?
Dude, it's cemented in my brain as Dollar Loan Center. So
It's-
even when I tell my wife that I'm going to work and she asks, "Oh, what are you doing that day?" "Oh, I'm going to the Dollar Loan Center." It's
I'm going
not
to the
Lee's
Dollar Loan
Family
Center.
Forum. It's cemented.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it. I mean, I don't want to get in trouble for saying this, but it is a catchier name.
It
a little
is.
bit, you know,
It's not as much as a tongue twister.
it's not. But shout out Lee's Discount
out.
Liquor. We love you guys.
Shout out.
We love you. We love you. Yes. Yeah. Okay. You know what? The funny thing about when they changed the sponsorship over, I heard it happen. I heard that it happened, and then the next day I had a game.
Yeah.
And I'm driving down the 15, and they had already changed the sign on the highway.
Overnight. It was wild.
It's fast, man.
Yeah. They
Like-
had that executed down to a science.
Yeah,
man.
really well,
Oh,
really
yeah.
well. I mean, it's good to know that, you know, like maybe if the construction takes forever, you know, 3 years,
Right.
maybe they're working on the Tropicana, but you know, like, yeah, but if a sign needs to be changed for a sponsorship, that's
Dude,
going to happen immediately.
Overnight.
Yeah. So okay. So yeah. So I remember this fondly, and this is why I feel bonded to you. Is my first time. I've never shot sports. I've done like highlights and stuff, but I've never shot live broadcast sports or live. We don't. Not everything we shoot is broadcast. Some of it is just sent to the screen for the guests. To
Right.
watch the game and see the entertainment. But so I had never done that before, and I forget who it was. It might have been Joe. The first thing that happened was I got there and I didn't have a credential, and so I had to wait at security. I was at the wrong door. So Joe came to get me. He was very, very nice, very lovely guy. And then I believe I think he or someone said to you like, "Oh, Rob's gonna, can you show Rob around the building and show him the ins and outs?" So then I ended up shadowing you. You were on camera 3.
I was on camera. Okay.
Yeah, you were on camera 3.
Okay.
And it was a Henderson Silver Knights game.
Okay.
And I watched you shoot. And I still to this day take sensibilities that I learned from watching you shoot that day into how I shoot.
Yeah.
So
Like
yeah,
what?
man. Well, okay. So for instance, like I saw how you checked focus. You'll zoom in on a text on the side of the ice and then focus there and then zoom out real quick and then get right back to the action. And you'll do that very, very fast. I noticed you do that fast. And so so I used to do that. Now what I do is I just zoom in right on center ice and I wait till I could see like the little granules or whatever. And then I zoom out, but same thing, like rather than which I might not have thought to do that. So rather than just trying to eyeball it and pull focus in the wide shot or in the shot that I'm trying to get and the tight follow I'm trying to get, I'll zoom all the way in on something, get focused, and then pull out. And that's something that I got from you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Glad I could teach that. I'm like, man, so I'm not the best camera operator. So like, if you said that you learned something from me on camera, then I must have been doing something good.
Would you say that? Would you say that you're not? Why would you say that you're not the best camera operator?
Just because of the talent that I know that's above me. There's so
Really?
many people that I know that could make me look like a little peon compared to what they can do and how quickly they can grab their focus. And even when it comes to building a camera, setting your back focus, like there's just so much talent above me that I hope to get there one day. You know, doing camera might not be my number one priority, but
Right.
being on camera whenever I get the opportunity, I strive to be at the same level as those guys. So I'm always watching what they do the same way you watch what I do. I'm always watching what they do. Like when I'm directing, I'm watching the multi-view. I'm seeing who's grabbing where, who's doing what, so I can be a sponge and just absorb it all in. So that way when I'm on camera, because it's nice to be a technical director and do camera, because when I'm on camera, I can think to myself, okay, if I was the technical director right now, what would I want in this shot? And I could possibly get into the mind of whoever is directing at that point in time and try to beat them to where they don't have to ask for that shot because I already have it.
Yeah. I feel the same way when I'm shooting. I'm like, you almost start to develop a sixth sense for it. Like you will, like you know when your shot's going to get taken.
Right.
Like
100%.
you're like, oh, this is it. Here it comes. And then you hear your camera, so if you don't know, if you've never worked broadcast or live, you're on comms, and so you're talking to the whole team all at once, which is very fun. It makes it feel you're in a state, you're sharing in the camaraderie with your team. So before your shot gets taken, before your shot goes live, they tell you to stand by, and then they take your shot. So they'll say stand by, and then they'll say you're live. So that's what I'm talking about. When you have a shot and you know it's the shot and you hear that stand by, you're like, I knew it. I knew that they're going to take this.
When someone tells you to stand by, do you tense up on your shot? I'm like, man, when it happens to me, I got to hold my shot, ready one. I'm like, oh shit, here we go.
So what happens to me is first of all, I get overwhelmed with a sense of joy.
Right. Because you're like, my shot's good enough.
Nothing makes me happier than hearing that. And then it's like, then I kind of go into like, I disappear into what I'm doing. Like right. I lose my sense of self. Like I can't believe, I was thinking about this the other day. I can't believe I've not fallen backwards over something or like, I can't believe I've never done that, because I literally just do not care about what's going on around me. I'm in that shot at that moment.
Especially the upper bowl at T-Mobile, man. I don't know how you do it. I'm scared of heights. So putting my back to that, man, I can't do that, man. That I can't do that.
Is a scary place, man. That is a scary place. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Just walking, like facing forward, walking down those stairs is like, man, it's wild, man. It's very steep.
It's very steep, man.
That's how they get so many people in there, I guess.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, but before we move on, I'm curious, are any of the cam ops in your top cam ops, like somebody I would know? Because I'd love to know who you like look to and admire their work. And B, what would you say makes a cam op, like puts a cam op like up there in that for you?
Oh man, it's I'm not gonna say names. I don't want to start.
That's fine.
I don't want to be like
maybe after.
Yeah, maybe after. Yeah. We can put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
You got to know the sport. Number one, when you are shooting sports and you don't know the sport,
it shows.
It not only shows, but it can it can hurt the overall production, because if you're missing shots, if you don't know what's going on, like when you're shooting hockey and you're like, oh, what's an icing, and or what's an offsides, and you don't know what to really look for.
If you see this beads of sweat starting
right. So I would say
I literally just asked, like, I knew what it was, but I needed to confirm like exactly how it works. with Cortland when he was here about an icing. So I'm like, what's some beads of sweat for it? But anyway,
But I would say number one is just knowing the sport, because if you know the sport, you can anticipate what's going to happen and where you can kind of set up your next shot, right? So like when I used to shoot baseball over at the Aviators, if the batter's a lefty, okay, you know there's a good chance that the ball's going to go to right field. So you can kind of already position your body a little bit to where, and there's always a chance that it doesn't go to right field, so you got to be ready for it. But you can kind of just position your body and your arms a little bit to be ready to go right over to right field and anticipate the play, or if there's a double play or, you know, whatever. So it's knowing the sport, it's being ready for anything. And yeah, it's just knowing your camera, being comfortable with your camera. A lot of camera operators do, you know, they have their control arms different ways. I've walked up to a camera and I'm like, oh my God, I can never shoot like this. So I put it to my angle and, you know, but it's just comfortability, knowing the sport and trusting yourself, honestly.
I can definitely attest to this, because when I first started, like when you, at the moment you trained me, I knew nothing about hockey, nothing. And not that I didn't like the sport. I just never followed it. You know, like my family never, I think you really watch the sports that your family watches, you know?
Right.
So my family never watched hockey. So I never followed it. But now that I know I have a better sensibility of, you know, where a player is going to pass it. Like if, you know, like, and how do I anticipate whether they're going to shoot or whether they're going to pass, or sometimes they'll wind up and then fake a pass. Like, and you can anticipate that stuff. And so now, I mean, of course. And that's the thing about hockey is it's extremely difficult.
Yes.
And even watching like the broadcast, like the ESPN level stuff, sometimes they'll miss things. So it's like, so that makes me feel less bad about it, but also it's like, you know, but yeah, so I would totally agree. The more sensibility you have about the sport, like you know, I'll know like, oh, okay, like he's definitely going to pass here. Bro's wide open. I can see him out of the corner of my eye. So you can make movements that way. But yeah, so I would agree with that. So you have very strong leadership qualities, and you're often a TD, which is essentially like the quarterback of a broadcast team. But even from a camera operator position, sometimes you'll be helping to like lead the team. Does that come naturally to you?
It does, honestly. I feel like if I can try to help make something better, I'm gonna do it. So even if I'm on camera, and some people might not like it, but if something's going on, I'll try to voice something or try to push whoever into that way to maybe they'll be like, oh snap, okay, yeah. But yeah, a lot of it just comes naturally. Obviously, you get better over time. You can take any leadership qualities. Like when before I got into this business, I was working retail and I was a manager. So just even leadership qualities I learned over there, you can bring over here.
So speaking of before you got into this business, I found a quote of yours, and it says, "Don't knock at opportunity's door. Kick the door in, smile, and introduce yourself."
Yep.
I love that. Can you expand on that?
It's basically don't be scared to, if you see an opportunity, you never know how many opportunities you're going to get. And you meet a million people throughout the day, right? So you need to find a way to be remembered, make yourself stick out in one person's head. So you kick the door in, you smile, and you say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so." And you make them remember you because you're friendly, you're motivated, you have all these other qualities just by this first introduction. So, and that can lead to so many other things. So that's why to be honest with you, I took a little bit of that quote and molded it into my own, because The Rock has also a very similar quote to that.
Okay.
So he doesn't say, well, there's a couple more curse words in his quote, obviously.
Uh-huh.
So, but it's kind of the same version of it. And so I just kind of took it and molded it into my own.
So how has that philosophy, like, would you say that having that philosophy or that mindset has helped you in a significant way that you can think of?
So during COVID, obviously, everyone's out of work and everything. And in July of 2020, I got a phone call. And during that summer was when the Raiders were moving out here.
Mm.
And I get a call from the Raiders. To this day, I don't know who put my name on their list. I'm very thankful. I got a couple ideas, but so they hired me to be a playback operator, basically a clips operator in their studio. So I get there the first day and they realized that they didn't hire a technical director. I had very lightly just dipped my foot in technical directing. I was like, man, this is a big opportunity. This is a big step. But I went over to one of the executive producers and said, hey, I'm Devon, and I know you hired me for this, but I would also love a shot at that board. And they let me do it. I got to sit down with a trainer from Ross for 3 days and learn the ins and outs of that board. And if I didn't do that, I would not have anywhere close to the knowledge of technical directing that I have now. So just taking that one opportunity can snowball your career like crazy. So that's probably the most memorable one that I've done with that.
And just asking. Like you could very easily have not asked.
Exactly. I could have been timid and just sat in the corner and just done, what they hired me to do, but just walk up, the worst they're going to say is no. And that's one of the things I try to live by is that's the worst that's going to happen if you ask. Someone's going to say no. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. Move on.
And this is the thing too. I mean, and I will admit that I used to be this kind of person where people will look at someone in a position or in a whatever, enjoying some level of success or whatever, and go like, why can't I have that? Why don't I deserve that? And like really just kind of like stew in that and develop like resentment and negative feelings towards it. And it's like, well, you didn't ask.
Exactly.
You didn't ask.
Not a mind reader. If you don't ask, people don't know.
Yeah, you didn't ask. And this is one thing I love about working for Foley. And I'm sure, the other companies in the city are great. I haven't had the experience with them. But one of the things I love about Foley is if you're interested in a position, they're like, yeah, learn it. Like go sit and shadow
you're
whoever
training
you want.
on that within a week.
Yeah.
Whatever the next event is.
Yeah.
I
love that, man. That's
100%.
so cool. Like it's so rare to find a company that's that open and trusts their people that much.
Right.
Speaking of that, I've noticed that you just I think everybody is fairly well liked and respected, but I think that you are particularly well liked and respected at Foley. Why do you think that is?
Oh man. I think number one is I try to look, we're in a very cutthroat industry. And we can get more into that later, but when you walk in, everybody's tense. Everybody's, I can't mess up,
Yeah.
I try to be the fun guy and kind of just lighten up the room and try to, make conversations. I try to, know everybody on my crew. Every day that I work, I look at the crew list before I go in. So I could be like, oh, so-and-so, told me about this going on the other day. Maybe I should go check on them so they don't, make sure they're okay. And I want people to be able to open up and be like, oh, cool. Devon's working. Oh man, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be a fun day. So yeah, I just try to be the fun guy in the room, but I'm not scared to totally flip that card and be the tough guy in the room.
Yeah.
I'm not scared to do or to give tough love because it's only going to make you better. If I give somebody tough love, I'm not trying to, beat you down or, make you feel bad. It's because I'm trying to help.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing, is just being able to be the friendly guy, but also when it comes time to put the hammer down, you got to put the hammer down.
This is the thing, though, man, about what you just said, and I like what you just said, because this is it's part of the game. Like, we should be able to have fun doing our job,
Right.
but also the job is unique in that you got one shot, and in live events, it's even more one shot. Like in cinema or whatever, something like this, like if you and I fuck up, or like, I spill something on myself, we can cut, we can walk away, we can come back.
Right.
Even we don't have all day. So we have one like kind of appointment to get it done. And and if you had to come back, it'd be a huge fucking hassle. So if something goes wrong, like let's say I have a staff of 5 people, let's say my huge staff of 5 guys back here that no one can see. Someone fucks up, I got to be like, hey, like, get that cable, put it over. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has to be, you have to be able to be direct.
Right.
Because you don't have all day. You can't discuss it. You can't have a staff meeting about it. It's got to be solved and resolved right then.
Right.
And in other words, where I'm going with this is people have to be able to process that and be okay with it.
Right.
And not everybody can do that.
Right. And it's also, it's a fine line to walk, right? Because if you're too much of the funny guy, no one's going to take you seriously.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of balancing, but yeah, I just go out and do it, man.
You do 5 different jobs?
Oh man, I'm everywhere.
How many positions do you work?
Oh man, you want the CVS receipt or?
Yeah. Good. What's the CVS receipt?
Oh man,
Yeah.
Let's top down. Technical directing, replay, camera. I can do robo camera. I can do clips playback, normal playback, audio playback. I don't do it much very often, but I can grip, I can PA, I can anything. I try to pride myself on being the Swiss Army knife. You need me, I'm there.
How did you get to that point of having all these talents or having knowledge of all these different positions in production?
I give a lot of it to my time at UNLV. They give you a lot of opportunities to move up and to learn, and it's also a mixture of being a sponge. Even when I'm on camera or doing something else, I'm always keeping an eye on all the other positions so I can see what they're doing and just be a sponge. Every job I work, I try to leave that day just learning one thing new, even if it's about a different position. Just learn one thing new, and then, when somebody asks if you can do that position, I know enough about it to be able to get along and learn on the way. Which is you could say fake it till you make it, whatever. But but yeah, it's a lot of it was just being a sponge and asking questions and then just going out and doing it. So, because I was hired at UNLV to be a camera operator, and I worked one day at Summer League, NBA Summer League, as camera operators. That was the only day that they had open. And the next time I worked, and I know that you're going to love this, this was 2018 and 2019. The Aces played a playoff game at the Thomas and Mack Center.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, okay.
I was scheduled to be a score bug operator, and our technical director didn't show up. So I got told 5 minutes before tip-off, hey, you're up.
Was this your first time?
This is my first time being technical director. And this was the De'Erica Hamby half-court shot at the buzzer.
Oh, my God. That's right.
Place was going nuts. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
man. Oh, that's a great that's a great memory.
My gosh. Oh my, it was wild. I was sweating. That was brutal.
Bro, I love De'Erica Hamby. I have to say. She's not an ace, but I love De'Erica Hamby.
Oh yeah.
She's got a lot of heart. She plays ferociously. I'm a fan. Shout out to De'Erica Hamby. She'll watch this for sure.
If you tag her, she might. You never know.
I'll tag her.
But yeah, man, that memory will always live in my head. Because what was wild was I was like, why did she shoot that? She still had like 7 seconds to bring it up the court. It was like a 2-point game.
Flex.
Oh man, that was wild. But yeah, so just the people at UNLV having that trust in me to be able to jump from score bug operator to technical director. And I had watched and soaked up enough. One of my mentors was there before me, so I was always asking him questions and always picking his ear and just trying to learn as much as I could, to where when that opportunity came, I was ready.
That I love that, because that's like a lot of the time, like the early things we do in our career, they are formative. So
Yes.
they determine how we approach our career from there. So you gain this crazy confidence going from score bug operator to TD, and it's like, and now you're like, what's over there? Yeah, I'll jump on that. I'll try that out, because it's like you already did this huge leap, like in a really high pressure situation, and it worked out fine. So it's like, yeah, let's keep doing it.
Yep.
Love that. Oh, so okay. This is I mean, if you don't want to talk about this, it's fine. It's a little personal. You're married.
Yep.
Is it difficult to work in production and keep your partner happy?
It has its challenges for sure. I'm thankful and lucky to have a very supportive wife, and she loves what I do, because of what she does is she works for BetMGM and takes bets on the games. So there's been a couple times where I'm like, hey, honey, I'm going to work. And she's like, oh, I'm working that same game. So I'll be directing the game, and she'll be at home because she works from home. She sets the lines for all the betting on the app and everything. And so
she'll be watching the game that you're working.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So it's nice to be able to have that, but also have a very supportive wife, because there are times where, geez, I have, 16-hour, 20-hour days, to where there's been times I'll leave for work, she's in bed because it's 4:30 in the morning, and I come home at midnight, she's in bed. So it's hard to navigate that, but when you have a supportive wife like I do, she makes it so easy on me to be able to do what I do.
I love that. That's very heartwarming. Speaking of 16-hour days, you worked the Super Bowl.
I did.
What time do you have to get there?
Oh man, I had quite a few days over there. I think I had like 2 weeks over there. And I want to say the earliest I had to be there is probably about 6.
That okay? So I was expecting a more wild answer. I saw it on Joe's Instagram. He's like he got to Allegiant at like 2 a.m. or something.
Yeah. So I was in house though. Joe was on broadcast truck. So
yeah. But but your answer actually leads into another interesting thing. The Super Bowl is not just one day.
No,
the Super Bowl is like a month of, or like at the very minimum 2 weeks of. I mean.
Yeah.
Tell like what all I did was I worked a satellite thing. Like I did a podcast. Like I was on Media Row, but I wasn't like a part of the actual production. I was working for somebody who was there for Media Row. So yeah, what was that like? Like you worked 2 weeks for the Super Bowl.
2 weeks for the Super Bowl. It was, man. When I say it takes an army, it takes an army.
Yeah, but, it does.
Oh my gosh! But it was the most fun I've ever had in my career.
Really?
Yes, because it's the Super Bowl, man.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, my team wasn't in it, but oh well.
Right.
But
who is your team?
Green Bay.
Green Bay Packers.
Yes, Green Bay Packers. Shout out
Green Bay Packers. They'll watch this for sure. They'll watch this.
But yeah, it was such a fun time, and it was also very challenging. But when you have an army there of professionals who they know what they're there to do, and everybody executes at a high level and great levels of communication and troubleshooting and just working as a team, it made it so much easier, and it was fun to experience. It was really, really cool.
I have heard that the NFL was thrilled with how the Super Bowl went in Vegas.
I hope so.
And that like the staff putting together the show, the people in town, which of course includes you, were like the top of top, and everybody knew what they were doing, and everything went off without a hitch. There were no major like glitches or anything like that, and like they were thrilled with it. That's what I heard.
Oh yeah,
I don't know where the hell I heard that.
But that's why you're there for so long. You're there to do all that testing and get the gremlins out, because if the gremlins come out during the production, that's
At the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's
So
one
that's
thing that's
why-
got to be flawless.
that's why you're there. Yeah, it has to be a 100% flawless show, and you're there and you're testing and rehearsing. And what happens if this goes wrong? Okay, well, let's try that. Let's test that really quick and see if we can get a fix for it if it does happen to happen. And the amount of companies that are there, like if they have anything to do with any type of live production, they are there. They have representatives. They have engineers, whether it's, Ross or, Everts for replay. Just tons of companies that are there, and they send out their own professionals, their own experts.
So every team's got their own team of engineers.
Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's insane. And
that's probably best though. I mean, like if you're setting up replay equipment, let's say, and you have your own techs there, these are people that know that replay equipment.
Exactly.
So if something goes wrong, they're like, oh, flick this switch and you're good.
Yeah.
Rather than, you got an engineer who is just an overall engineer. Maybe he's never seen this piece of equipment before. And now you're both staring at it like the young thug meme, like when they're in the studio.
Yeah, man. It takes an army. And what's wild is in our control room, we had 3 separate shows going on. So to be able to be professional enough to do 3 separate shows in one room really shows like just the amount that you need to put into the Super Bowl.
So for people that don't know, when you say 3 separate shows, it's the game being broadcast on 3 separate networks. So it's being cut 3 different ways. And like, is that what you mean? Or
I mean, so if I'm talking about our in-house show, everything that you see on the Jumbotron, we had 3 separate teams. We had an A team, a B team, and a C team. We had different names for them, but ABC is what I'm going to go with.
Right.
One was just dedicated to the game. One was dedicated to all the timeouts, to all the videos, all the live hits with MCs. And then one was dedicated to all the full board takeovers with the ribbons and everything. So yeah, that's 3 teams just taking one big show, and we cut it up into separate.
Okay.
So that way, like, whoever was doing something on the show when we were in a timeout, okay, take a breather, collect yourself, and we're right back in it.
So you mentioned earlier, you said, if something goes wrong, then you have to have speaking of the Super Bowl, you have to have contingency plans and all this rehearsal. So now, as a TD, let's say we're not talking about the Super Bowl. As a TD, what is it like when something goes wrong? What do you do?
Try not to scream and cry. That's number 1. I would say it's the same thing as like, just checking, having a checklist, right? Okay, if this happens, what could cause that to happen? What can I check and troubleshoot to see what happened? Or, because I mean, there's a million things that can go wrong, right? And being a technical director, just having there's hundreds of buttons on these boards.
Yeah.
Hitting one wrong button can throw something all out of whack. So you got to be able to figure out where to look on that board, because you see all these shiny buttons and, they're like, okay, well, what on this board is causing this? Where can I look? Is it on a separate ME? Is it a key? Is it, I don't want to get too too many of those, but yeah, it's just having your checklist. The same thing as like a pilot does. You got to have your pilot checklist before you can take the plane off. Something goes wrong. Okay, what's the first thing that you're checking?
Is there anything that you can remember that has happened in a show that was a complete left turn that you had to like adapt to and like?
Nothing, thankfully, at the top of my head. I mean, there's always, we call it the gremlins, right? When the gremlins are out, stuff happens. But I don't think I've been part of a show that's had anything too bad happen to where it'd be like, oh my gosh, we're in straight panic mode.
Yeah.
So, but now that I said that, let's knock on wood.
Next Vegas thrill game of volleyball goes through the Jumbotron or something.
Yes, things happen, man. You lose power, a connection gets lost, whatever. You just got to be ready for it and have your checklist.
All right, I have to ask you this. because we talked about it. Who are your top 3 favorite MCs?
All right. I want you to know that it took me a while to get to 5. So when I told you that I had 5 picked out, and then you said go to 3, I'm like,
I was like 5 is a whole podcast. Like literally 5 is a whole podcast.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh man. So number 1, Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. Because MC. Very clever. Okay. Motley Crue. Fine. I accept.
All right. Motley Crue. Reason being is, dude, it was the first ever concert I went to. I was like 14 years old. My dad took me and my brother to a Motley Crue concert. I was bug-eyed, man. The things that I saw at that concert.
I'm sure. I've heard stories. Yeah.
So that was fun. I would say number 2 is Post Malone.
Posty. Okay.
I've recently become a fan of him. I'd say within the past, 2-3 years. I love him because I love his music. He's a gamer.
Yeah.
He plays Apex Legends. Shout out.
Yeah. Yeah. Cracked.
So,
are you cracked at Apex? Are you sick on there?
Yeah.
I bet you are.
Yeah. I haven't played as much recently, but
you look like the guy that is cracked.
Oh,
on
dude,
Apex.
my wife's better than me.
Is she?
Yeah. She's better than me at Apex. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's sick. That's dope.
We used to do a duo stream where we had, we would be on Twitch.
Oh my God, you guys! I would totally watch that.
Yeah.
Let me know if you guys do that again. Let me know.
It was like a his and her
100%
stream.
watch that.
It was so much fun.
So real quick, first of all, I love Posty. First of all, people who should call me Post Malone in public all the time, all the time. I just went to a graduation ceremony at Thomas and Mack, and the security guard was like, "All right, come on, Post," and I'm like, "I already know." And it's like, now, am I a white guy with tattoos on my face? Yeah. Does that make me kind of like just a generic Post Malone, clone? Sure. But the interesting thing about Post is that he was kind of the gateway to modern hip hop for me. I was very much like I only want to listen to Wu-Tang. I only want to listen to Nas and Hove and DMX and all that. And then I listened to Post, and I liked him. And then that got me into like all the other artists that were popular at that time, from that like the XXL freshman freestyle, like 21 Savage and Lil Uzi Vert and Yachty and all those guys. So I love Posty.
Oh yeah.
But so go on.
His country with Morgan Wallen was phenomenal.
I mean, he could sing.
He's changing the game, dude.
He could sing. He's the shit. I love Post.
So number 3. And this is going to be your full circle moment here, is Eminem.
Oh.
Because you have one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted.
Oh, my God. I'm so glad I waited to the end to ask this. Yes. Oh, that's amazing. Okay. Well, shit, man. That was fucking great. I love that. Okay. So one more thing, man. What would you say to the kids coming up that want to that look up to you, that maybe admire you, that maybe want to get a job in production, that would like to be a TD someday, would like to be a cam op someday, or would like to run replay maybe? What would you say to them?
Ask questions, introduce yourself, kick that door in, be a sponge, just soak everything in, and have the correct attitude. Attitude was the number one thing that I can stress. Because with what we do, you have to leave it at the door. You can't come in with a bad attitude. So, yeah, just have the attitude, ask questions, and be a sponge. And just learn it and enjoy it.
And get there 15 minutes early, right? Devon was 15 minutes early for this podcast, by the way, as he is every day at work.
Look,
at least 15
minutes. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're fired.
I agree. I love that. I agree. I think at the very least, 5 minutes early is on time. At very least, 5. Right, yeah. It's a sliding scale, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. And yeah, on time is late.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally agree.
I'm always getting ready an hour and 15 minutes before whatever show I have to be at, so I can be there on time.
Well, now with the traffic in Las Vegas,
especially with the traffic.
Yeah, now you got to leave the house an hour and 15 minutes early.
Exactly. You know the saying that Los Angeles is an hour from Los Angeles? It's getting that way over here.
Yeah,
It's Las Vegas is an hour away from Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my wife is the total opposite. She's like, oh, I work in 15 minutes. I better go.
Yeah. It's like, well,
I'm ripping my hair out. Like, you should have been gone 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. And then she, the funny thing is like, if it were you or I in the car, we'd be like gripping the steering wheel so hard. And she's probably just like, just like jamming the music. All right, brother. Well, that was great.
It's awesome.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. We did it. Yay. Oh, one more thing. You have to, Devon, please share your socials, or if there's anything that you're working on or anything you want to share with people you want people to check out, please.
Yeah, just my socials. Everything is just at Devon Keenom. I post a lot on my Instagram and my Facebook, and I got a Twitter, but I honestly don't use it too much. So do you call it Twitter now? Or do you still call it Twitter?
I still call it
Twitter.
Twitter.
Instead of X?
I think most people
weird.
do. I think, because X is not a thing. X is a letter.
Right.
So, you could say X and no one's going to know what the hell you're talking about.
Exactly.
Unless you're saying X the app, or you're saying X formerly Twitter.
Yeah. It's always Twitter for me, just like it's always Dollar Loan Center instead of Lease Company.
Okay.
But
all right.
once it's cemented in my brain, it's cemented, so.
Yes, man. All right. We did it. Nice. Hell yeah.